And we're live. There we go. I'm actually able to do this. Hey, folks, welcome everybody to another episode of SVT Time. This is, dang it, I forgot to count the episode numbers. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say this is episode 22. Anybody that knows, correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, everybody.
Because it has to do with my age.
Because you're 22 years old. Oh man. Hey everybody, welcome to SVT Time. You all know me. I'm Dino. I've got my co-host Dom Liberati. We've got as all guests are very special, but today is a very special guest, a legend in the bass world. And I say this lovingly, Armand. You have one of the most contagious smiles ever. When seriously, you cannot smile when we see you smile. So
thank you.
Everybody just give a warm internet applause and welcome to Mr. Armand Sabal-Lecco. Did I say that properly?
It's better than I've been called before. I've been called other names, but this is
So no, man, thank you for joining us today. I know you got to scoot after this because you do have some commitments right after this, but thank you for joining us and talking with us. And it's been too long since we chatted.
But thank you so much for being there for me so much, and then so many times, and then thank you for having me here today. To be able to have this conversation that we can never have.
Right? I know. Yeah. It's like I tell everybody, it's like this is the conversation that I always want to have at NAMM, but NAMM is just so crazy and so busy. You can't have a personal conversation. So this is kind of our way to do this.
So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So what's been, obviously with what's been going on with the pandemic and the last 18 months, how have you been keeping busy? First of all, is everybody happy and healthy and safe?
Yes, luckily, well, I haven't been on tour lately, but I've been sort of, it's given me time to finish a lot of things I didn't have the time to finish before, and to read, to settle down a little bit, because I'm usually moving around.
Right.
It's given me, there's a twisted sort of a good thing behind all this craziness, where I was able to, be in contact with people I hadn't been in contact with, and but mostly finish projects or go further in projects that I had started before, Yeah. So I kept busy doing some sessions, writing for people, things like that.
Yeah. Have you been doing a lot of producing as well, Armand?
Yeah. The bass is just playing bass live and stuff like that. It's just like less than half of what I do, because I do different things. I do. I was working on the thing as a singer for a TV show for a guy called Chuck Lorre. So I do different things like that. I write for these kind of things. I sing. Sometimes they call me. They don't even know I'm a bass player.
Yeah. Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's like a guy. I was doing something where I was there as a singer. And then. The guy opens the magazine and he sees me with the picture with the bass, He's like, "But what are you doing with the bass here?" I said, that's me there, actually, normally. So, but I've been lucky to be able to do these different things, write, compose for some people, compose for my Positive Army project, and then there's a new project coming out, not coming out yet, but in production, with a strange but very, very interesting eclectic cast,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. You said that you were reading in COVID or during the pandemic. Any favorite books that you've tackled in?
Yeah, I love the meditations of like Marcus Aurelius. I like Fyodor Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment, all these different and I read anything basically. I'm interested in anything because I get in. This affects my art, you know. So anything, you know, except well, I don't read too much politics lately. I'm bombarded with it, but you know, I read everything. You know, history, a lot, anthropology, you know, geopolitics, you know. Because you know, to know what not to say where, you know, things like that. But I'm interested in many different things. You know, cooking, books, and everything. You know,
I'm talking about recipes here. I know it.
I know. That's my favorite.
Oh man, nice. Now, can we talk about your history and your background? And you know, obviously, you know, you've been known to play with some pretty high level players like Paul Simon, Stuart Copeland, and Stanley Clarke. And what was your beginnings into the industry? First of all, did you start as a bass player, or did you come up in a different route?
Like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, I started with guitar. And that lasted probably for like a week. Okay. You know, guitar wasn't my thing. I just can't play guitar unless I have to record something, and then somehow I'm able to play and listen to it. I'm like, wow, really? You know, but I can't play guitar. You know, so I played guitar for about a minute. Then I went to drums. You know, and I played drums for a while and very young. And then later on, I switched to bass, like more when I started that in Cameroon. I'm from Cameroon, you know, Central West Africa. And then when I went and I grew up in Cameroon, in Paris, in Italy, and here, you know. So when I was in Paris, that's when I became a little bit more of a bass player, because also the environment, I couldn't really play drums. You know, at home, you know, so it was a different setting. So that's why I was more involved into bass. But in Cameroon, I was diving into sort of both. You know?
Okay. And what was like your first big break into the music scene?
That was in Paris. When I was there, I was much more into a jazz environment, you know, fusion, jazz rock, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And we did some stuff like that. My brother Felix was the drummer. He lives in Paris still, and we did it. We sort of made some noise with that in that genre in that environment. And then above that we started to play with a Cameroonian artist called Manu Dibango. You know, saxophone player, and he's the guy, for example, who did he's like one of the most sampled guy. He's the guy who did like the Mama Say, Mama Sa, Mama Go. So original, you know, you know what Michael Jackson and everybody took. You know, he was the original guy. You know, so anyway, with him, I started touring more. You know, that was like in France my first big break, which was actually he was an international artist. You know, he sadly passed not long ago. But he was an international artist, so therefore, with him, we already toured the world and stuff like that. You know.
Okay.
But you know, we went around the world many times already, and then it's from him that I actually went to Paul Simon.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because he had like sort of a world beat band. You know, like he had the best world beat band ever. You know, so therefore. I was lucky to be in it, you know, and when Paul Simon wanted to move away from Graceland, you know, and he wanted to go a little deeper musically and into some other, you know, another direction in Africa. So he met a guitar player from Cameroon who had played with me with Manu Dibango, Vincent Ngini, and therefore they had started working on that album, The Rhythm of the Saints. And then from that, they had tried a bunch of different things, and then my name came up, and then they called me to from Paris to New York to come and record one song, and you know, that now that I think about it, was an audition. I didn't know.
Didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went. I played like about 4 bars of a groove, and then they stopped everything. They said, "Okay, this is the guy." So I didn't even understand. I was like, "Oh, well, okay, So I recorded the song, went back to France, and that from Manu Dibango, I went to Paul Simon.
Okay.
Because Paul Simon was looking for like the best of what he wanted, all over the world. So he found us. He put that band together. That's how I landed with him.
And that kind of opened up the rest of the doors at that point, I would think, working with Paul.
Yeah. With Paul, it opened like that was actually my biggest thing at the time. It was just like I had never done anything with such an artist,
Yeah.
And then he made us feel really comfortable. It was really great, the feeling, the vibe in the band. It was a stellar band with like Michael Brecker, Steve Gadd, Richard T, all this, Paul. A friend of mine said actually that Paul Simon was my door to America, and Stanley was my window.
That's funny. Yeah. Now, do you obviously you still work with Stanley, but are you doing anything with Paul? Is that?
No. Paul is not doing anything right now.
I was gonna say he really hasn't been doing much lately. So
yeah, because actually that guitar player Vincent, who was working with him, the Cameroon guy, he passed, and then he was sort of he had become like Paul's muse,
Yeah.
And friend and everything. So that saddened him a lot, and then it's just and with however the industry is turning and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Just, I think Paul has probably a quieter and happier life away from from the craziness,
I mean, it's at some point, if that's where you find your peace and solace,
yeah,
and that's what you do,
Yeah, and you can do that,
And some guys, I mean, some guys on that level can't get away from it, because for whatever reason they just love performing, or they feel like they have to constantly work. But yeah, at some point it's nice that in your life you can step back and kind of reevaluate and say, you know what, that was a time in my life, and now there's a new time in my life, so I don't want to. I'll do this when I feel like it. Like I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Paul, I wonder what he does all day. I mean, because he reads, he writes, he does a bunch of but he's a guy who loves music so much that to step away from it, he's not completely away. He comes back, he does it a couple, but he's playing with Bakiti. Bakiti is back with him. Bakiti Kumalo, who played with him before, is back with him. So, but for a guy like Paul, he loves music so much, and you can see that in his career. So for me, to see a guy like that step away, it's kind of strange. But I salute that, because it's amazing to be able to do that, like you said,
Yeah, and sometimes you
just see another era and step back,
Yeah, just to recharge the battery sometimes, and find another muse or another, something that's going to inspire you again.
That's what he had done when he did Rhyming Simon and all this kind of stuff. Then all these albums that he did in the 70s, he stepped away, and then he came back with Graceland. So I don't know what he's going to come back with. But
he'll come back with another groundbreaker at some point. He
can't stay away.
No, I know. Do you practice every day? Do you play every day? Or speaking of trying to keep things fresh, what do you do?
I don't practice much. I play.
Yep.
I jam with myself. I jam with people, but I don't sit down really to. I play, and then if I have I've practiced enough, I think, so yeah. So now I try to just, it's all here now, I visualize things so I don't have to pick up the bass.
Yeah.
So, but so I have to keep this open. So that's what, before a show, for example, I don't sit there to practice or to warm up. I just try to tune in to the whole universe. So that means I'm one with the people I'm playing with or for. So whatever comes out, they also in tune with it because I'm with them.
Yes.
So for me, it's really important to tune into the universe when I'm. So I don't sit down to really practice stuff. I jam, so I discover stuff, I explore stuff a lot. But just to sit down and go over scales, I don't do that.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, to a large degree, I'm sure, most of the people watching here too, we've done that. You've done that homework all your life. Now it's a matter of connecting it.
Yeah, it's like I have to be able to be one with what I'm doing. So and that opens my music. I practice musicality.
There you go.
And musicality to me, I practice it by being a good human. Let's say, so that means if I'm a good human, good things come out of me. It expresses, nature gives me something to express that's beautiful too.
Yes.
I'm not here to compete against anybody or not even myself.
Yeah.
The bar for me is already at a level where, there the most important thing is to be a good human. The bass, I know it. People know it. But it's here. I have to be leveled and open to life.
Yeah.
You had mentioned getting into the Marcus Aurelius teachings, and I've recently, actually, I follow on Instagram. It's called the Daily Stoic, I think, and it's kind of cool how many little sayings and philosophies like really pertain to a bass player, and just kind of how you basically where like the space you occupy in this world, but then how that kind of goes into the space you occupy in a band or like you're saying, just a group of musicians. It's pretty cool to like
where you rule from,
Yeah.
But actually, people sometimes are not aware of the fact that they gave the flag to Stoicism to Marcus Aurelius when it was actually another guy before him who was his mentor, and that's Seneca.
Okay.
Yeah, Seneca was his mentor, and then Seneca was a slave, and all that he went through an incredible ordeal, just like Dostoevsky. He went, and then when he came out on the other side, he became that sort of enlightened guy who knew the balance of. It's the balance of life, basically. Stoicism is the balance of life, knowing what, knowing the parameters of your power. What you can do and what you can't do, what you can change and what you can't change. And then that helps you avoid. Suffering is resisting something. So when you're in that frame of mind of like Seneca, Marcus, Stoicism, you can avoid these kind of things because you have a good assessment of situations.
Agreed. Yeah.
Clear.
And what's the Instagram post?
Daily Stoic.
Daily Stoic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This is all new to me. I'm still on like my daily jokes.
No, but actually, you probably lived because it's just the river of life. That they put into words. I'm sure you do all these things without really even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's fun. I have these conversations with my kids all the time. It's what you put out comes back.
Karma.
It's karma. That's exactly what it is. Just I don't know how many times we say to people, and I say to my kids, just be a good person.
Yeah.
Dad, how do I handle this? Or this person sent me this email, or this person dissed me. Just be a good person. Just be the better person.
Yeah.
And if that means keeping your mouth shut and not saying anything, or sometimes you have to stick up for yourself in a very polite way and let them know, So
Yeah.
very cool. Hey, I noticed you have a couple of alembics there, Armand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're alembic brothers, so I've got mine hanging. Let me see. I always joke I can never be a weatherman because I can't get the thing now, but that's it right there.
Yeah. I see it. Yeah, I have a few alembics. I have like probably 8 or something like that.
Oh wow! Would you say that's like your main axe now is alembic? Because I know you switch between Music Man too.
Yeah. For me, I have basses I love, but I don't have a main axe because I really try to bring the bass that's going to be the best for the job,
Yep.
And I have basses that I have a good palette of sound, of sounds. So even if I'm in love with an alembic that I have, and I try to force it onto a track, if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But an alembic is sort of for certain music, it's an acquired taste because it's a very sort of a clean and forward bass, So sometimes it sits on top of the mix instead of going in there,
Yeah.
It's a leader's bass sort of,
Yeah.
But it does everything, but it has that characteristic to sort of, a lot of people thought that an alembic sounds only like Stanley Clarke or something like that, but not at all. You can have like go from a Fender sound to a Stanley Clarke sound if you want.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not for every track, So for me, I use a lot. I use Music Man also, Music Man Saber.
Okay.
Yeah, I use the Saber Music Man with the jazz neck, narrow neck. They're very rare,
Yeah.
I think they made like probably a 1200.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with the narrow neck like that.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, it wasn't a big run. Like they didn't make a lot of them, but
they didn't even make a lot of Saber basses.
Yes. Yeah.
It's more the Stingray, the one with one pickup. The Saber is the one with 2 pickups.
Yeah.
And the difference is like it's the same difference as like a Fender Jazz or a P bass. Just a palette of sounds.
Yeah.
But the ones with the narrow neck are even more rare.
Yeah.
To me, it's what feels good.
Yeah.
And I have some from Fender Jazz also. I have different things.
Okay. Do you play upright at all, Armand?
At gunpoint, At gunpoint,
somebody else is carrying it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every time I hang out with Stanley a lot. I've hung out with Stanley since I got to America, basically, like all the time. But if we're not hanging out on the phone, So whenever I go to him, he's always pointing to the acoustic bass, and I jam sometime with him. He's on piano and I'm on acoustic. I would love to do that live once,
Yeah.
But I'm a sort of a unpracticed acoustic bass player.
Yeah.
And when I hear Stanley play, I don't even know if I want to practice.
I've been, obviously with alembic and this and that, but that's Stanley's one of the reasons why I got into alembics, because he was such a huge influence. And there's just so many times I have a hard time like deciding if I like his acoustic playing, his upright playing more than his electric playing, because they're 2 completely different disciplines.
Yeah. And he expresses himself completely different also.
Yes. And that's extremely hard to do.
It's extremely hard. And that's a great thing I learned from Stanley, actually. I was actually lucky to play with a lot of bass players and stuff like that, But Stanley, I learned that from him. When Stanley plays the acoustic bass, he understands the acoustic bass. He comes from classical, so he has a relationship with the wood of it, and then the whole shape and the vibration of the instrument. The whole, So when we go on tour with Stanley, and sometimes he does like every night he does like his bass solo on the acoustic and stuff. It's just by himself on stage. And I'm on the side of the stage. I'm looking at him. I'm going like, wow, this is actually Stanley Clark, you know. and he's doing that thing that he does, you know. And you hear how so much music comes out of it. That's what I like. I played with Jaco also, you know. But these two guys, they're not, to me, they're not bass players. They're just musicians who express themselves on bass. And that's the thing that I got from them. So for me, when I pick up a piccolo bass, I don't play like when I play regular bass, you know, or when I play tenor bass. It's a completely different instrument, you know, and therefore I'm a piccolo guy, and the ideas that come from the inspiration that comes from the piccolo, that's what's going to come out, but not what's come from the bass. You know?
Interesting.
That's and when he does that on stage, he switches between instruments. It's not as easy as that because he switches the mind to, you know.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point because, yeah, as a bass player, you know, you pick up a piccolo bass or you pick up a uke bass or you pick up something other than like a 4-string Fender. And you approach it like a bass player versus what other sounds, what other, you start playing the bass line of My Girl on a piccolo and it sounds like you're playing My Girl on a piccolo bass. But it's a very interesting point because yes, it's, do you approach it as a bass player or do you approach instruments as a musician, as somebody that just exudes music no matter what you're playing?
Actually I try now I don't try anymore, but because I've been doing that for a minute, but I just try to be, like I'm saying, a good human, and then in me all the facets, everything that anyone else does. When you're a good human, that means anything everyone else does on earth, you connected to that. So when I try to express myself, so if I have the bass, I will express myself as a bass player. But even the way I play now, you know, if I go deep into explaining how I play, the bass itself, I don't consider it like a bass. It's like an orchestra to me. So behind all of that, I'm always just a musician who's expressing ideas. So if I'm playing in a trio, for example, the bass, I'm going to have like horns, I'm going to have timpani, I'm going to have the piano, I'm going to have then the aggressive thing that comes. Actually, more than orchestra, it becomes like a movie where it's like characters, you know. I say, okay, I have that De Niro guy who's coming here, and then Al Pacino is not happy over there, and stuff like that. All these, you know, I express myself like that, but it comes out in notes and different things, you know.
That's awesome.
It's like as if I was writing a script, you know.
So
that's how I express myself in music.
That is a lesson in itself because, like I said, as bass players, we sometimes think too much like a bass player,
which is terrible. I think, you know.
I mean, in some applications it works, but it's, you know, like when I'm like, when my wife introduces me to somebody, you know, she introduces me to them as a musician. What's your husband do? Oh, he's a musician. You know what I mean? Not, oh, he's a bass player. It's like,
smart woman. She doesn't want that stigma.
Give her a kiss for that because she's right. You know, people have to be musicians before the instrument.
As soon as she says he's a bass player, everybody starts talking very slow to me, and it's like, hey, wait a second here. You know,
he needs assistance.
Oh, you're a bass player. Oh, I'm
Did
sorry.
you come by yourself?
Hey, how I got to ask you this, just again because I'm such a fan. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of Stanley's. The first time you played for Stanley, that must have been like nerve-wracking, or was it something completely different? Was it completely natural for you?
Completely natural. You know, I haven't. And that doesn't take away anything from anything, you know. But it's just that when, at a very young age, I was exposed to people of power, people of influence, etc. So that's sort of very, very young. That doesn't impress me. That didn't impress me anymore. What impresses me in general is people, how they are, you know. And I know what I do, and know what I have. I don't freak out like that, you know. And when I work with Stanley, actually, amazingly enough, I first worked with him as a composer.
Oh, okay.
I played bass way later, and that's another lesson that Stanley, I have, you know, we're on the phone like, or when we see each other, we're on the phone like 4 hours, 5 hours, you know, and talking about anything. It's like music. Sometimes really, we talk 15 minutes about music, and then we talk about life, different things, philosophy. You know, and then that helps me so much when I play with him, because I understand. For me, it's important to understand someone's philosophy, you know. So therefore, I know how to maneuver around them, you know, with them. So that's why when I play with Stanley, you know, two basses, we never on top of each other. So I really understand how, and you know, he knows me too so well. Yes. So we really work well together, and a lot of the keys that it gives me to understand that kind of stuff is in conversations about food, about different things. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I say that. A human, when I play with Herbie Hancock and different things like that, Herbie doesn't talk to you about music theory. He talks about colors, he talks about energy, he talks about things like that, you know? Jaco doesn't, it never talked about theory to me. So always colors, you know, mood, and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's really a, you know, but Stanley, the first time I was, I met him in France. You know, I met him in France backstage after a show he did. I just, you know, went backstage. I said, I gotta meet him. You know, and then we met and we had a good vibe then, which was not even about music. You know, I gave him a compliment about the show and stuff like that, and we started joking about something else, and we stayed friends. Nice. Like immediately, you know. And then when I came here, and I stayed in touch with him when I was on tour. I would come to LA and sort of, you know, try to get together with him. And after the Paul Simon thing, when I moved here to Los Angeles, that's when our friendship really solidified. You know, we got together. So that's when I wrote, you know, a song for him on the album East River Drive. And then. Yeah, he called me, and actually that's the thing where I went like, you know, it's later, because on that album, you know, that I wrote for him was just like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. But then later he wanted to do like bass duets with me on the album, and we did. You know, we did a song. The first duet we did was called "The Lord of the Low Frequencies." You know. Laws of the Low Frequencies, you know, and then another one called Illegal. That wasn't my status, but it's the name of the song, you know. And these were duets where I'm like, I'm in the studio, and he had given me an alembic, this one actually, which is his second one. This is the 71, you know, and he got his first alembic in 71, the brown one, you know. You know, and so he gave me that one, and I'm in the studio with him, playing my alembic, and he's playing his alembic, and I'm like, oh my God! First of all, the way, you know, whatever the sound that he pulls out of that instrument, nobody can do that, you know. And that, you know, but just the pure joy of doing what I like. That's why probably I'm not conscious of if I'm nervous or something, because I'm just happy, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I didn't realize, you know.
Yeah,
but we were there, we played, and he loved it, you know. And it's after that I went like, man, I was just in the studio doing like duets with Stanley.
Just hit you. That's cool though. You didn't let any like fear get in the way of the joy.
Yeah, because I was happy. In general, that's what happens to me, because I'm just excited, you know. I was telling someone the other day that, you know, for me, a person who helped me so much in music, actually, in the beginning, is a friend of mine from Cameroon who doesn't play anything, but he loved the music so much. So when I'm hanging out with him and he's listening to like a new record or whatever, the way he's like into it, I'm like, whoa, whoa, you know. And me, I could play, you know. And then I go like, wow. So that kind of passion spilled onto me, and then that is what is my real drive.
Yeah.
So I never want to even consider myself a professional.
Yeah.
I'm always an amateur. I'm so excited to be able to play, to see the lights of the amps, the racks, all that. I love it so much. I'm a fan. You know?
I love that. That's great. That like keeps you like a kid, you know.
Yeah. So I'm always approaching art like a kid, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm open to explore. I'm open to you know. I don't care about really the medals and all this kind of stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. It's cool, but you know, it's not my thing.
That right there is a lesson in itself. It's like, you know, so many of us get stage fright, or, you know, going first time in front of a big audience, or first time playing in front of a mentor or a hero. You know, we get the jitters and we get nervous, but you seem to like, you take that energy and transform it into a happiness versus a nervousness.
Yeah.
I'm sure it also come at it from being jaded, or, you know, something political with the music industry or something like that. But it's like you're saying, Dino, it's like from joy and from like a gratefulness, which is very, very attractive to other people, which is it's no surprise that Stanley Clarke and, you know, Jaco and all them wanted to be around you. And like, how did your paths cross with Jaco?
It was in Paris also. I was in a club randomly, you know, and I was like back, leaning on the like the bar, and looking at the stage. So he came in and he walked past me, and then he stopped in front of me and he smiled, you know. And for me, I didn't know him, you know. I mean, I knew of him, and he didn't know me and stuff like that. So it was even so far from, you know, I'm in Paris. So what is Jaco doing in a club in Paris? You know, so I didn't even think, you know, and so he stopped, he smiled at me, and then he walked away to go sit somewhere else, and then I was like, who is that weird guy, you know? What's that, you know? And then later on he went to jam. Then I went like, oh shit. So that is, you know, everything came back, and then after the jam, he took the bass off, and then he said, who wants to jam? The room was like packed with bass players. Everybody was like,
yeah, right.
I'm going to be over there. You know? So, and I was with my brother Felix, the drummer, who's also a badass bass player, you know?
Okay.
And then it was actually a Jaco fan playing punk, jazz, and all this kind of stuff, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a badass bass player. So he said, man, this is not all that talk that you talk, you know. This is Jaco over there, you're handing a bass to somebody. I want to see you on that stage right now, you know. If you don't go there, you don't even come back home. I'm not your brother. That's it. Your name, everything is stripped away.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Your brother shamed you.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, really? Man, that's Jaco. You know? And then I sort of just reluctantly went. And so Jaco was happy that somebody made a move, you know?
Yeah.
So I go, and he puts the bass on me, and I started playing like a line from like the come on, come over line. But the version that he did with Al Di Meola.
Okay.
You know, he I think Land of Sun was the Al Di Meola album, which was like one of the early Jaco sessions ever.
Yeah.
Al says that that was Jaco's first session. I'm not sure, but it was an early one. But so, and then he stopped. But I played that with the Cameroonian feel, the thing in there.
Yeah.
I put a little bit of jungle in it, you know. Yeah, and then he was walking off stage, and then he stopped. You know, it's like, whoa, what's that? You know.
Oh, that's cool.
And then that's when I flipped out. I was like, oh shit. You know?
That is awesome.
Yeah, and then he stopped the band, you know.
Okay.
And he points at me. It's like, this guy is a badass, you know. And then he takes the bass again, to show me exactly how he plays it. And I say, okay, this is my cue to run off now. You know, while he has the bass, because this is going to go to another level and I'm not prepared. Yeah, so I wanted to go, so he grabbed me and he stopped everything. He puts his gum on the drummer was excited, wanted to he put his gum on the hi-hat. That means like stop, Yeah, and then we sort of had a little bass thing there, and then he does that on top of my head, like, yeah, this guy is the man, And then he left. He went to the bar, and I played, and we jammed, and after that, we were tight. And then we went out to eat and all this kind of stuff. Wow. And he tells me, and he was drunk. At the end of the night, he was sort of drunk, and so I had to take him back to the hotel,
That's hilarious. Wow.
Yeah, so I took him back to the hotel, and while I'm sort of getting him back to the hotel and stuff like that, I'm thinking, wow, this is Jaco, actually.
That is a great night.
And I had met Stanley the year before.
Okay.
I said, this is sort of some crazy thing going on here. This is right. Pastorius. So I take him to as a joke, I say, hey man, you're pretty touched right now. So maybe tomorrow I'll replace you. If you can't do the gig, I do it. I got you. He looks at me like this guy is crazy. Then I put him to bed, and I leave. And then the next day, I go to the show. He was playing in Paris. So I go to the show, and I'm sitting there with my. I was a popular guy in Paris. I was playing with Manu Dibango, that guy, and Manu Dibango was big. So everybody, we were on TV like every week. Yep. So which is good, and then for some people, it's not. They don't like that too much. So the Jaco thing, we're there. He's doing a show. He's playing, and I'm sitting on the first row with my brother. We're listening. We say, "Oh man, just like the record." That's Jaco, man. And then in the middle of the show, he stops the band. He points at me. He said, "Come up here."
Yes.
So, yeah. For me, I think like, oh, that's some American stuff. It's part of the show,
Yeah.
They point to somebody like that, and then they just do some American moves, I didn't know, And then he insists, and then I turn around like maybe he knows somebody here. I didn't even think he would remember even what we say, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, and everybody starts looking at me.
Wow.
Yeah, the pressure, because all the haters were like, now we see. So
it's like Mortal Kombat finish.
Again, my brother, he goes on me like, so I'm like, okay, here no. So anyway, I go on stage. Jaco takes the bass, he puts it on me, and he walks off stage.
Wow.
I'm like, what? And then before that, he had started, like, I shot the sheriff, and then so I started the song again, and I went played that with the band, and it was gone like 10 minutes, So we played like, okay, now I don't want to receive like shoes on me and stuff like that, like, tomatoes and stuff like that. So I'm like, wow, I got nervous, like, man, this is Jaco's stage basically.
Yeah.
And I'm here standing with his bass. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
That's illegal, Yeah. And then he comes back, and he grabs the other bass, and we started playing Ting Tang, together. And then after that, we were cool, and then we went out to do a couple of more dates, but that's how it started with him. And with him, I was just so like, wow, this is an incredible moment, more than, oh, this is Jaco, the bass player. I was just like, yes, it's him, but just the moment to be able to connect that way. Yeah. And that connection took away all the fear, sort of,
Yeah.
Even Stanley, when I met him, very, we were immediately friendly. So it took away also the fear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's, well, I mean, like you say, it's once you take away that fear and you recognize your audience or the person you're playing with or as just people.
Yeah.
You know, hey, this guy likes chicken sandwiches just like I like chicken sandwiches. You know what I mean? He may be the greatest bass player in the world, but he likes chicken sandwiches too.
Yeah.
And I like chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
Or whiskey. I don't know. It sounds like
whiskey,
yeah.
But once you make that personal connection, then it's another human being with another human being.
Yeah.
And you're communicating.
Absolutely.
But I wanna comment though, Armand. I think the thing that, like you said, you being a good person, being a good player, being just the person that you are, allowed the universe to put you in those positions to meet Stanley and to meet Jaco and to go work with Paul Stanley. And you know what I mean? I think your universe puts you in that position because of who you are, because you're a good person, you're a great player. You know what I mean? I think that kind of transpires to all of us.
Yeah.
If I'm having a bad day, a lot of times I sit down and I go, well, why am I having a bad day? Well, because I'm kind of being a jerk today. And it's just, I'm putting those vibes out. You know what I mean? So the universe is giving me a hard time today. But
I've never gotten Dino jerk vibes ever. Just saying.
But I know, but here's the thing. Like, after we have these conversations with SVT time, I get to hang with Dom. I get to hang with you today for an hour. I know the rest of my day is going to be like this big, bright, shining light because this big, bright, shining vibe that we shared this past hour is going to last for the rest of the day. You know?
Me too. That's important for me. You know, it's important for me. That's why some people always say, for example, for concerts, they say a good show starts in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And then for me, with some bands, I've had it was sort of strange because people keep to themselves until you're on stage. It's like a day off. You see nobody. Everybody's like doing things. But me, I grew up in bands. I grew up with bands where we were sort of a family.
Yeah.
If you were out like in Tupelo, and then you find a great restaurant, you call guys like, "Hey man, I found a great restaurant. Let's eat." Dinner or lunch in an hour or something like that. But then I went on tour with some other situations where you just see the people on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it's different, because back, I was doing a tour with a big artist, and then the backstage, the guys who were playing with him had been playing with him for like 20, 25 years and all this kind of stuff. So they basically backstage like, there's the conversations were about like garden, bathtub, the plumber. Oh yeah, I have a good plumber for you. I'll call you. So I'm like, man, that's how we prepare.
Yeah.
Right.
Then we go on stage, they all like, hey. I'm like, whoa, for me, if I'm smiling and all this kind of stuff on stage, it's natural. It's not for the show. So I'm like, man, I don't know you like that. So
that's so funny.
That's what I do with teeth,
Oh man.
I gotta share this story. I did an audition once for Dwight Yoakam to be his bassist. And he was such a nice guy, super sweet guy. But yeah, it was at Capitol, and I had a similar experience where I waited like 6 hours to get into this audition, and I had already known at that point. I think a guy or two before me they had spent a lot of time with, so I was like, yeah, it's probably already his gig. But I walked in and I'm like playing, I'm like getting into it, and I'm just like looking over and like just jamming with the band and like feel really really good about it. And like Dwight's over like behind the studio glass is like stereotypical like Hollywood movie setup, and like I'm playing and I'm like, man, I'm thinking to myself like I'm killing this audition right now. And the band just looks at me and they were like so stone cold the whole time because they had been through like 8 hours of playing with guys, and they just look at me and the drummer just like he's playing and he like points with his sticks and he's like, like pointing to the microphone, like, "Why aren't you singing backgrounds right now?" And I was so distracted of like having fun with them that so I didn't get the call back. But yeah, it was just like genuine fun, and then I look over and everybody else is like, "Oh, they're working right now." Like they're
But yeah, it's I think in any environment, a lot of times, like even here in Boston, I was doing a huge amount of like wedding bands, what we call general business, GB, and
I always see pictures of your truck with the whole fridge.
I don't bring that on the wedding bands.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just, and I mean, it's different when you're playing, there's some musicians you just play with, you get the vibe that they just don't want to be there. Like, oh man, this is, another. It's like, man, where else can you get to go interact with people and make some money and eat some good food and wear some nice clothes and make other people's nights happy?
Yeah. Well, and feel the camaraderie of like being part of the team,
Yeah. It's like, I always, it's funny. At the end of a gig, no matter how bad the gig is, people always ask, well, and my go-to response is, nobody got hurt. Like we played music and nobody got hurt tonight. So I guess the night is actually pretty good, isn't it?
Nobody got
Is that before or after you throw the fridge back in the truck?
Well, yeah, that's usually just self-inflicted pain. No,
I was gonna say during all of Armand's stories, I was gonna say in the background I was gonna interject in every single one to say in the background there's a beautiful SVT rig. Move on. Next story.
Yeah.
Hey, so you have some projects coming up, Armand, that you're working on. Can you tell us about that?
Right now, the next immediate thing I'm doing is we're doing what's called the police deranged. The derangements. It's like the music of the police deranged by Stuart Copeland.
Yep. I love that. That's my favorite band of all time, by the way. The Police.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing band, and actually, for me in the beginning, I was like, sing, yeah, the bass player, yeah, cool, it's good. I'm being honest,
That's right. I love that.
And then this is not. I've been working with Stuart Copeland since like maybe '93.
Okay.
Different things. We work on so many different configurations, and I had met him through Stanley actually, because he had a band with Stanley, Animal Logic and all that, and then he had to do something, and then Stanley couldn't do it, so he recommended me, and then I've been with him since. So we, back then already we had to go through like some police stuff. Then I sat down. Actually, when I was younger in Paris, my brother loved the Police, the drummer, and then I listened to it. I'm like, I was into Return of Forever, whatever, kind of stuff, and all the funk stuff, and then I listened to it. I said, like, yeah, cool, But I listened to the drummer. I was like, wow, man, this guy is badass, and but later on, with Stuart, we were doing different things. We had a thing where we were working to do some shows with Andy, Andy Summers, and we were trying different singers. And then we had one of the configurations was Andy, Stuart, and I, and Ziggy Marley.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! Okay,
yeah, it sounded amazing, to hear Ziggy. With his tone of voice, which is like his father, singing the Police songs. He's like, what? And
it probably sounded like, oh, all the Police songs were actually written for this guy. That's probably what it sounded like.
Yeah. Right? I was like,
What you
I can
mentioned,
imagine
man.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then to hear the police now and the cop, the police sing, playing Bob Marley's music because it was both repertoires.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
But this thing was at the time where Ziggy had a record to put out right then and stuff like that, so it would have been too distracted, so it didn't happen. But it was amazing. So, but before Ziggy came in, I had to learn the songs.
Yeah.
So that was maybe the first time I really leaned into the police songs and listened to really what Sting was doing. And then for me to learn a song, I want to learn the composition first.
Yeah.
So instead of going like, okay, what is the bass doing? What's my job here? I learned the composition, and if I have to play a string of songs from the same composer, I have to understand how the person thinks, So So I say, okay, this guy, these are sort of his go-tos, and then this is how he thinks as a composer.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it easy for me to learn the rest of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to break down Sting's thing, and I went like, oh my God, really? It changed my whole thing on Sting.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is an utter badass,
Yeah.
It's amazing because the police, three guys, and you have a wall of sound coming, and then the whole music coming out. How he composed the songs, what he's playing, the bass line, counterpoint to the melody, and what the guitar is doing. Then I went like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get why he's getting paid. I knew the songs were cool, but then when you get into it, you go like, okay, I see it. And then we were rehearsing before Ziggy came and stuff like that. We were to put the songs together, and so I was sort of singing a little bit here and there, and then they would call me Bling, the Black Sting.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're singing the parts too?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then that's when you realize that, he's a badass. He's a complete badass, but that escaped me before because I was more into the bass,
Yeah. And it was probably like, they were always packaged as like a pop band, but there's so much more to that.
Yeah. Yeah. They revolutionized the whole thing, I mean, But the thing is that when I started to approach it, and I was into his bass like before, and I said, cool, well, but when I stepped back and I saw really the architecture of of the police, that's when I went like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, because he's not...
I get why he has a castle over there and there.
I know, right? Something's working right.
Yeah, so he's doing something right. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I gotta be honest. I was kind of the same way when the police first came out. Mm-hmm. I was sort of the same thing. I was into Jaco and Stanley, but I was into metal guys too, like Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, yeah. I mean, it's cool, but then as we all mature and we want to explore our own musicality, you start delving into it. It's like, oh, wait a second, yeah, there's more to it than just than what seems to be on the surface. Sort of thing, there's a lot more musicality in there if you go looking for it.
Oh yeah. I know a lot of virtuosi who cannot play the music of the police. But they can play Tin Town with one finger, They can't play Can't Stand Losing You.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know it. So this project with Stuart are you taking this out on the road? Is this going to go on tour?
Yeah, but it's classical with 80 piece is a and, it's a big thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so it's not like hey guys, we have a gig, we coming to town.
We're gonna need 80 tour buses for this trip.
Yeah. So we have now some pepper dates, until the end of the year, and then next year you have more dates, and then more things are coming in. But that for me is like way out of my comfort zone because me, I'm sort of I'm a terrible reader,
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't practice. I'm an unpracticed reader, That's more like it, I remember Jaco actually. At one point, I played for him. He says like, "Wow, man, actually, the first thing Jaco did to me, like many Africans, we play like Jimi Hendrix with just the three like that, And then I was playing like that. He said, we were at a restaurant actually, waiting for some fried plantain and somewhere, And then he said, "Show me again how you play," And on my hand, I do like that. On my arm, I do like that.
Yeah.
Then he took this little finger and he put it here, and he didn't say anything. Okay, I'm gonna have to work this one in,
Yeah, get this one going.
Yeah, and I don't even know why I was talking
about reading with the orchestra.
Yeah, and then next thing he said, "How's your reading?" I say, I read a little bit. He said, "There's no read a little bit. Oh, you read or you don't read."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I say, "Let's go on the I don't read side," because for me, my initial thing with reading was with a teacher in Cameroon. Very young, I was already playing. I was into Paul Jackson, the bass player, with the head and tears and all this kind of stuff. I was listening to Herbie Hancock doing all this stuff, and then I go to school, as a kid, and then they give me a penny whistle, and to play music, They give me the penny whistle, and then and they asked me to sing like do mi sol mi sol sol. I said, what? With the music I was just playing at home before coming here, you asked me to play that kind of stuff. And then, I sort of rejected it, I really rejected it because it wasn't, the guy didn't make me, I didn't fall in love with that, that had nothing to do with what I liked about music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going there and the guy was taking me over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stepped away and then I started teaching myself and doing, coming up on my own. And then later on, again, I taught myself to get into music. I worked with a lot of people, gave me some tips, to read and harmony, a bunch of different things. I learned with the people, like Stanley, with Jaco, with Patty Tucci, all these different people, Don Grusin, and that helped me. But the reading is a thing of practice,
Yes.
And I just don't do it. But this thing with Stuart, it's all reading. And I have behind me, I have like probably 6 or 8 basses doubling me, right?
Oh, right.
The tuba out there, so I can't really grow a brain,
Yeah.
I have to play what's there, and then with that, just when I sit down with it, it comes back faster.
Yeah.
It comes back faster.
That's it. It's like a muscle that you have to exercise constantly, otherwise you start to lose it. But once you start building it, it's just constant repetition.
Yeah.
It's
been about 10 years since I took that muscle out for a spin, so I gotta get back on it.
No, but it's good for certain things, It's not. I do it, but it's not my thing.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I had a reading gig this past weekend for an Italian singer at a country club. And it's funny, when I took the gig, they said, yeah, there's charts. So I figured, well, there's going to be chord charts and we just play. And when I got the charts, it was all notated. I'm like, hey, wait a second. All right, dotted quarter note. And
if the guy is Italian, it's all written. Actually, Europeans love to write everything. They write the drummer's hi-hat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember the drummer on the gig. All her parts were all written out: hi-hat, snare, and kick. And they coincided with the bass line too. So, but yeah, it's just something. It's just something. It's like I just view it as another muscle to work on. But you'll I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine, but it's just like I always go open like charts reluctantly, I was like, oh, really? Music is over there. What am I doing here? Like, like a secretary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the old joke. How do you get a guitar player to turn down? Put a chart in front of them.
I thought they said, how do you know the stage is leveled? It's when the guitar player is drooling from both sides.
Oh man,
that's good too.
The conversation's doing this now.
Yeah, I love guitar players, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. I did also a gig where it was a lot of reading. It's Aldi Meola,
Yeah.
So Aldi Meola was a lot of reading, and then it's the same thing. I had to sit down with it and go through it and be reading like Al's lines, guitar lines, and then or some Anthony Jackson bass lines and stuff like that. So
sure,
it's not especially like the Sunday morning reading, right? It's Saturday, a fierce Saturday night reading. It makes it feel like Monday.
Yeah, well, that's just it. You do an hour hit or an hour and a half gig of nothing but, you come out of there like sweaty and feels like you just spent an hour and a half at the gym.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's that project with Stuart. Then there's I did a thing. There's Benny Brunel and Stanley Clark. They've done an album called Baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the first one, I wrote a song for that, and I played also on another song. And then in this new one, same thing. I wrote they're working on that. So I wrote a song, a beautiful African sort of a thing from like melodies from like the Sahara, this kind of stuff. Yep. So and Stanley is playing acoustic bass. I'm playing piccolo, talk box, and all this kind of stuff. Benny is playing fretless, and. So yeah, that and then also I'm always doing something with Robert,
Yeah.
That mass mental thing, we have a lot of different things we do that are not live,
Yeah.
With mass mental, we worked, for example, with a guy called Robert Valley, who's an animator from Canada, and okay. that whole project got like nominated for an Oscar,
Yep.
So there are different things like that. And then also we're waiting for everything to sort of start again. So we're going to do another album with. There's a band I'm into with Stuart not Stuart. Philippe Sace, the keyboard player,
okay,
and composer, and with Senri Kawaguchi, a young Japanese drummer, female drummer. She's killer. And we had an album and a DVD and all that. It was like the number one. They won some awards, stuff like that. And then now we have to come up with another one.
Okay.
So writing for that, checking stuff for that. There's a couple of different things going.
Yeah. So you're busy, man. You're a busy guy.
And I'm working on another album now. That's going to be my new band. Which is good. It's pretty dirty.
That is awesome.
And that I can't say anything because if anything I say is gonna already make you understand what it is, and I want it to be a complete surprise because it will be a surprise.
Cool.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah, we don't say anything. Well, when that happens and that launches, let us know so you can come back on.
Oh
so
yeah.
We can share it with everyone.
And you're gonna love that album, I swear to God. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. Of course, all the I'll tell you, the mass mental stuff. That's like, it is such a dynamic with you and Robert on that. Man.
Yeah, Robert also is like Stanley. I talk to Robert all the time, and we hang out things that have nothing to do with music and stuff. So that's why we understand each other. When we're on stage or when we do music, it's just like two friends hanging out, basically. Like with family, it's the same thing. Just friends hanging out, and then let's just instead of having a drink, let's make music. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what comes out even when we're on stage. We're happy to be together. You know.
Yeah. It's so organic. It's just organic that way. You know.
Yeah, for me, it's important with people. You know, it's important to feel good with the people I'm with. You know, I can't just go to something and do it as a gig, whatever it is. You know?
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's it's just like when you have friends. One of my very, very dear friends who passed away in January, Tim Bogert from Beck Bogert and the Peace and Fudge. You know, everybody would ask me like, "Oh, you must have learned a lot from Tim when you guys hung out." It's like we never talked music. Oh, we talked music. We never talked bass.
Yeah,
exactly.
He always have the blues playing in his garage. I learned more about working on motorcycles and listening to blues music with Timmy in his garage. You know, smoking cigarettes, working on motorcycles, doing that thing. Yeah. We never talked about playing bass ever. And it was the same dynamic. You know, it's once you get to that level of a relationship with somebody, it becomes so organic.
Yeah, you know, it's so important. So the practice are really, you know, the traditional musicians in Africa, for example, whenever they see like jazz musicians on stage, they're always puzzled. They go like, "Wow, but why is he pissed off?" I say, "No, he's not pissed off. He's concentrating." He say, "But you know, he has to do that before he plays the show." Right. You know, you have to work before the show. So when you're here, you have to be happy to have guests. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you're the host. You can't be your nose in the charts and then not being a host. You know?
Yeah. Very good point.
For them, they don't understand how people are like the miles concept. They don't get it.
Well, a lot of I don't know. Yeah, that's like like you say, the miles or the Mingus concept too. You know You know, I don't want to hear any cash registers. I don't want any applause. I don't just wait until after the. It's kind of like, okay, well, that's the whole idea of sharing music with people is to share your joy with them, you know? So.
Stanley said at one point he had a lunch with Mingus, you know, early on, he was young and stuff like that. So he went to have lunch with Mingus. Mingus liked him, but he was just such a rough guy. So Stanley was sitting like, you know, people have a turn or whatever, you know, it's just, you know, but... you know, so things like that, experiences like that, you know, and then I see that what we think, like when you meet Stanley, how you feel himself, he felt like that with other people, you know.
Yeah. I will tell you my one favorite Stanley Clarke story. I went to go interview him for Bass Frontiers magazine, and he invited me up to his house, and you know, I drove up into the canyons and I get into the house, and I didn't know Stanley, and you know, Stanley can, from what I understand, can be a very private person.
Yeah.
You know, understandably, you know, but he was nice enough to invite me into his house.
Yeah.
So, you know, very professional. Went in to go do the interview for Bass Frontiers, and he and I started talking. Well, we had a mutual friend that Stanley produced their album called Free Flight, and the mutual friend was Jim Lacefield. Jim was one of my instructors at Musicians Institute. And as we're talking, I said, "Stanley, by the way," I says, "did you know Jim Lacefield?" Jim had just passed away. And I says, "Do you remember Jim Lacefield, right? From Free Flight?" He says, and all of a sudden you could see this glow around his face. He goes, "I do remember Jim. Of course I remember Jim. He just passed away." He says, I said, "Well, Jim was one of my instructors at Musicians Institute."
Yeah.
From that point on, it was like stay for lunch. You know, like we had that human connection. Then we started talking about the Lakers.
Yeah.
Once you start talking basketball with Stanley, forget about it.
It's from Philly also.
There's no, you don't talk about bass guitar anymore. It's about sports and everything else. Just like you said, that's, you know, you get to know who the man is, who the person is, and all that existential stuff just kind of falls away.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's been my privilege with a lot of people to be able to get into who they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes just because I got into who they are, even if they were sort of strict in the music, if I'm playing with them, I've played with some artists where we play like stadiums and stuff like that. So it's sort of a well arranged music, you know.
Yep.
But then when you start to be loose with the artist, and then you start to connect as humans, then somehow there's more freedom, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I say that even when I had to play with Aldi Meola, you know, I hadn't done that music for a while, right? So I was doing some other things, so I had to go back into, and he was doing like a reunion of not reunion, but he was doing replaying the stuff of like Elegant Gypsy, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hadn't listened to that. I was doing some other thing, so I had to dive back into that. And before I even picked up the bass, I had to listen to the whole repertoire a bunch of times to dive in and really break down his way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, so now I could sort of now anticipate, you know. So when I picked up the bass to learn the songs, really, it was a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I know that usually when he does this thing here, it leads to that and that and that and that and that. So that sort of, you know, made it sort of easy for me.
Yeah.
I do that for everybody. You know, if I learn let's say a Sting song, the first thing is to learn the melody and the lyrics, and then the bass is gonna the bass follows.
Yep. Everything else will fall in naturally. Yeah.
But now, for example, when we're playing like Demolition Man with Stewart, and then you have the orchestra, it's pretty powerful.
I want to hear that too. I want to hear.
This thing is going to be pretty powerful.
That's going to be cool. Well, we took up so much of your time. I know you have a rehearsal to go to, I think, right? That you were heading to? Okay. Yeah. So can we invite you back? Will you
yeah, I would love to. You know, I'm in company of good humans at any time, you know.
Absolutely. No, we'd love to have you back at some point, and hopefully we get to see each other in person at some point too.
Yeah.
You know, I know you guys are on the West Coast. You're actually not too far from one another. And
I wonder, you're in Boston, right?
I'm just north of Boston. I'm in New Hampshire, but yeah, I'm about an hour north of Boston.
Dom, where are you?
What's that?
Dom,
oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Malibu, so I'm out in LA, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to check. You know, I don't know if we have something around Boston. It would be cool, you know, if you could come.
Well, if you do, let me know. You, as we say here in New England, come up the house and have dinner.
Yeah. Where's the car?
The car.
Get the key to the car.
I'll come down and pick you up. We'll have chicken sandwiches.
Yeah. You know, but you know, I want to tell you, so Dino, you really taking care of me in you know many situations, and I want to thank you for that. You know, I could be in Japan, I could be in Europe and stuff like that, and I say like, Dino, they gave me like a toaster here. I need a real amp. And then you step up. So thank you so much, man.
I try, my friend. I try. You know, I know I can't always hit the mark all the time, but I mean, we're all bass players, we're all instrumental, you know, we're all musicians, and we're all kind of in the same boat, you know. And I've been blessed to do this for 17 years with Ampeg. And you know, if I can pay that forward, you know, to artists such as yourself, or even, you know, I'm on this Ampeg Facebook owners group that, you know, guys will reach out to me and I'll mail them back. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm thank you for getting back to me. It's like, we're all just, you know, we're all just doing the same thing here, guys. We're all brothers. So
that's what you think, but it is not so.
I know, and you said,
but it makes a difference when you work with a company and then you're able to to reach someone and explain the problem the person is listening to. That's important. You have a lot of things where the structure is that you can never get to a clear person or answer or something. And Ampeg for me, all the years, has always been great. And then the gear has never let me down on the road.
Thank you. Yeah.
Also, I mean, seeing Dino operate at any NAMM, the last couple of years, I've had the joy of doing that, and obviously the joy of working with him day to day. And it's like, man, seeing how people just are so like happy and smiling. It's like Dino, like he really has cultivated a complete family, just feeling around Ampeg that has, I think, been instrumental to the success of Ampeg. So
yeah,
Dino,
you guys stop, would you?
I mean it.
Well, that's gonna be $20 for me.
Hold on. Let me contribute here. I just hope my bosses are watching. Oh man!
So tell me about that new amp you're sending me.
So Armand, I'm sending Armand a V4B and a 212 cab because he wanted
for the orchestra.
For the orchestra, yeah. You wanted something that could get a little dirtier without being too loud.
Yes.
And I know you're a big 4 Pro user, which the 4 Pro is what it is, but it can be clean at loud volumes.
Yeah.
With the V4, you're going to get that SVT experience, but you don't have to turn the volume up to get that sound. You can do it at a much more manageable sound. Where it's only 100 watts versus 300 watts.
Yes.
And it's a lot lighter than an SVT. It's about half the weight of an SVT. So if you're I don't know if you're roadieing your own stuff. I hope you're not roadieing your own stuff, but if anything, your roadies will be happy with you too.
Yeah.
Your touch.
Yeah. Even if it's a roadie who deals with it, it's better if it's lighter, so he's in a better mood with me.
That's true.
Exactly. You don't want an upset tech because
but yeah, it's gonna be like consider.
Oh man, no. I think you'll enjoy it. That actually should be showing up either today or tomorrow.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Let me know what you think of it. And yeah, man. It's a lightweight SVT. So.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that because this thing, we have to sort of be conservative on the volume, but I want that sound still, that Ampeg tone and warm and that I can put some dirt on,
Yep. And I'll tell you this. I mean, call me when you get it if you want to dial in a sound. But
yes, please, yes.
Generally, you can run the gain up and run the master down to dirty up the sound a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, man.
Yeah. No, that's my rig these days is a V4 12 cab. Yeah. It's just more manageable, and it's easier to load in and out, and but you still get that SVT experience.
Yeah.
So
that amp is actually coming out. Is new or what? It's a reissue, but
no, it's been out for a few years now. Yeah, it's been out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been out for it's been out for more than a couple of years, but. I think you're thinking of it. Well, that's
man. He's getting a brand new studio now.
No, I think
because I was using the SVT. My other thing with the Neo Pro and everything, but this for this particular thing is like, and not only that, for the studio also. I think I'm going to use that a lot.
Yeah, and it's great. It's the DI on it. If you want to record with it, the DI on it is amazing sounding as well. So,
great.
Yeah.
He's always stepping up.
Yeah, like I said, we try. So, well, listen, I got to run too, but Armand, I cannot thank you enough, my friend. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I'm so glad you were able to do this for us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And next time I'm in LA, whenever we can travel again, I'll be sure. Dom and I will come down and we'll break bread and
Yeah,
tell
I was
some
gonna say,
stories.
there's been a lot of food talk today. I'm Italian. This makes me happy. As long as there's food, I'm there.
Exactly, the
yeah.
Italian and Greek, you know. So
With you, we're gonna have the pasta, but with him, we're gonna have the clam chowder.
there you go. There you go.
He's in. I love it.
Oh, thank you guys. Listen, everybody, thank you for watching, for tuning in. What can I say? 2 weeks, I think we're going to have an SVT or a sweet talk probably, or maybe in 3 weeks actually, because I'm on vacation next week. Dom's on vacation the following week. And, but stay tuned. We'll post ads on Facebook and on Instagram where we're going to be next. So until next time, folks, thank you for watching, and stay
So nice meeting
safe,
you,
stay
Armand.
healthy.
Thank you.
Take care.